What's going on, everybody? This is Broken Games HDR, and this is my first impressions for Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I'm not going to beat around the bush. This video is pretty much just going to be me absolutely praising this game and glazing it and using it against other games, because who would I be if I didn't weaponize a great game against other mediocre games, right? Come on, I gotta weaponize it. I gotta do that shit. So, Expedition 33. So, this is a turn-based RPG, and there's been some conversation about some people calling it a JRPG, even though it's made by a French studio. It uses the JRPG formula. So it's essentially plays like that. But it's a hybrid because it has action RPG real-time mechanics and QTEs, such as parrying, dodging, jumping, which I'll get into later when I talk about the gameplay. So it's developed by a French studio called Sandfall Interactive, which is comprised of a few Ubisoft veterans. So it's not like this is a completely like novice amateur team who has no experience in games. They have a good amount of experience, even though it's only a staff of 30 developers. And this is published by Kepler. So it was founded in 2020. And like I said, they have a staff of 30 developers. So in 5 years, this is no like simple feat. They created what they've created, what's in front of us, which is an amazing game in my opinion. 30 developers, 5 years. Putting a lot of motherfuckers to shame. Okay? So I'm 7 hours in, just giving you context. I'm 7 hours in, I'm playing on the hard difficulty and I'm playing on PC. I want y'all to know, this game does not reinvent the wheel. It just makes the wheel better. Because I say all the time, innovation is overrated. Some people think I'm crazy for saying that, but I think the proof is in the pudding. When you look at the best games are not the ones that innovate. Innovation is great, but it's never really great for the game that does it. Innovation is great for the games that take what's already been done and make it better. Those are the best games, the one that take what's already been done and just improve upon it. Not the first ones to do it. The first ones to do it, they haven't worked out all the kinks and all the flaws, and then later, the ones that come after them could figure out how to tweak it and make it better. And that's what this game does, and that's what the developers do with Expedition 33. So let me talk about the premise and the story a little bit, no spoilers. So, and this is just the overarching plot. It's not an actual spoiler, right? Does give out some detail about the story. So every year for the past 67 years, there are people on this island called Lumiere, right? And they go through an event called the Gamage. The Gamage is where this godlike entity called the Paintress paints a number, and every human above that number will disappear. Essentially die, right? As far as our understanding goes, they die. They kind of get Thanos snapped pretty much, where it's kind of like this nebulous thing where, well, they're disappearing, but are they actually dead? Is it death? They cease to exist, right? So every year the number goes down. So Expedition 33 is not actually the 33rd expedition. That's the number that they're up to, right? So everybody, there are essentially nobody older than 33 existing on this island because they all perish, right? So, and I find that to be such a fascinating premise. It seems to be pretty original to me. I think it does take inspiration from a movie. I can't think of exactly what it is, but that deals with age. And you know what it kind of reminds me of? By the way, I think they should make this game into a movie. Because I just love this concept of like this person deciding your fate and literally calling your number and you just like running out of time. And what it kind of reminds me of is mankind trying to explore space in a way, and like they're putting astronauts into like a shuttle to go into space and almost like figure out a new place for us to live, because Earth is like uninhabitable. It kind of reminds me of sci-fi movies that kind of deal with that concept, but like shit goes wrong, right? Like the shuttle explodes, or you keep sending people on shuttles to outer space, but they never make it back. And so every year, after the Gamage, Lumiere sends out expedition of volunteers, and they specialize in different fields: engineers, soldiers, mages. I guess you can call them. They're volunteers, and they head to this mainland in an effort to kill the paintress before she can paint a new number. And now a new group of people are gonna die the next time. So this is Expedition 33 that we are up to, and they are off to an island. And when they are making like references to the Gamage very early in the game, because the game starts out, it just goes right out the gate pretty fast. And I'm just, it captured me so quickly. I was interested and enraptured in this world so very quickly with just the first few lines of dialogue, because they're already making references to things that we don't quite understand. And it had me like looking up the definition of gamage, because obviously it's a French word, and I didn't look up any spoilers, but I'm like, what does gamage mean? And I think it's pretty much a word that translates to the erasure of something, like erasing something, right? And it's just, this game is very efficient in the storytelling and the dialogue, and it doesn't waste anything, right? Every moment that I've experienced so far, every conversation is purposeful. It's not wasted effort. It's not wasted lines to kind of like fill a word quota like some other RPGs do. I feel like a lot of RPGs do, where it's this long onboarding process where it takes, quote unquote, oh, it can take 5 to 10 hours for the game to get good. This game spits in the face of that theory and that narrative that it has to take 5 to 10 hours for an RPG to get good, or to hook you into the story, or to hook you into the gameplay. This game does it immediately. It might be one of the best intros for a game that I've experienced in a long time, just as far as like the pacing, them just jumping into the world building, establishing the characters and the relationships, and immersing you immediately into the plight that they face, but what, like I said, has kind of been normalized for them. And the voice acting sounds so natural and authentic. The dialogue and the script is so well written that sometimes what we experience in games with the dialogue is one character speaking, and then when that character finishes speaking, then the other one speaks. But a lot of times that's not how we have conversations in real life. We talk over each other a lot. And there was this one conversation in the game between these two characters when they were literally like over speaking each other because they were so passionate. I was like, I don't see that a lot in games. They make it seem like conversations are just this one at a time thing. You go, I go. It's not like that in real life. So I was just impressed by that. And I just love the story and the concept and where they're going with this, because as soon as they said that people go to this island, there's been 67 expeditions prior, and nobody makes it back from this island. I'm like, oh yeah, my conspiracy brain is going crazy. Cause I'm like, okay, something is up. There's something we don't know. There's something that is misleading and misguiding, and there's some conspiracy and some twist that I cannot wait to figure out. So immediately, when I understood what was happening, I'm like, I want to know what the truth is. And that's how this game grabs you immediately. And I love it. I love that about it. So I mentioned the gameplay. So this is a classic turn-based RPG with just more involved, engaging, and interactive mechanics, as I said, such as parrying, dodging, and jumping. And this is not the first game to do this, right? Where essentially, I think where a lot of people get turned off by turn-based RPGs is it's less engaging, and it's essentially a menu scroller where you just scroll through a menu, you select an attack, and that's kind of where your job ends. There's no more input from you, the player. Now, I love both. I love both the action RPGs and the turn-based RPGs. I have no problem with neither one. I love both. But this hybrid, which, by the way, as far as my understanding goes, Mario RPG was the first game to do this. And this, I think Mario RPG, what was that, came out in 97? And there's been a few games that have done it since. I think Child of Light might have done it, and there's a few other RPGs. But you would think that this hybrid formula of having these mechanics in turn-based RPGs would have caught on a little bit more. But it hasn't. But I think this game may change that. You would think this would be the go-to route, that if you're making a turn-based RPG, it's like the perfect medium for both audiences. The people who actually love turn-based RPGs and the people who don't. This is kind of like a middle point, right? It caters to both audiences. So I'm surprised that more haven't explored it to this level. So kudos to Sandfall for actually doing this. It's so simple. It's such a layup that it's just shocking that it hasn't been done more. And of course, it has all the all the bells and whistles of an RPG. You got your attributes that you can level up and increase your character's stats. You got your unlockable abilities from the tree. You got your Pictos, your Luminous, which that is pretty much. I guess you can classify those as like buffs, attribute buffs and ability buffs. So you can like build out your character the way you want it. Each game has its own terminology for it. And of course you have your weapons and you can level up your weapons, all that good stuff. And one thing that's just a very small quality of life thing that I appreciate, it's not a big deal, but I appreciate it, is the fact that in the menu where you're looking at all your character's attributes, under the attributes like speed or agility or might, defense, some of those things, in this case of Expedition, most of those things are self-explanatory. But in other games, they have a lot of attributes that it's not clear what each one does. And this game explains you in just very simple text right under each attribute what this does. Might, this is your attack power. Defense, this is what the percentage of damage fall off or damage mitigation and all that stuff. So like I said, most of it is self-explanatory, but I've played so many RPGs where it's not clear what this attribute actually does and they don't give a fuck about explaining it to you. I'm like, why doesn't every RPG do that? Or not even just RPGs, just games that have attributes. I appreciated that. I'm like, that should be a simple thing in every game. The game is beautiful. Talking about visuals, the game is absolutely beautiful. I like the high fidelity art style. When you get to the overworld, I was a little bit worried, right? Because there's this overworld kind of open world section that you go in and out of. And, I have open world fatigue. So anything even, it's not technically like an open world, but anything even relating that has any similarity to an open world, I get worried. I'm like, oh my God, bro. Because, nowadays they want to make everything into an open world. But I appreciate the way they do this. It's not overbearing. It's not for the reason of padding or adding unnecessary shit to the game. It's really a way of traversal. So I appreciate that. The beautiful level design, vibrant environments, and biomes, and the character detail is great. And this is going to shock a lot of people when I say this. I really appreciate the music in this game. Now, I'm known as the guy who doesn't give a fuck about music in video games. But what it really is your music has to be so good and outstanding for me to actually notice and appreciate it. I think the soundtrack and the OST, the music in this game is just great. I think it stands out. I feel like I could pick out this music in a lineup of video game music. So it's not, and I do stand on what I've said before, that music is one of the least most important things in a video game. But for me to appreciate it, you just have to make the music special. You have to make the music stand out, right? It just has to be done very well. And from right when you play the game, I'm like, I like this music. And it does a good job of like setting the tone and the atmosphere. And I like the use of the piano. The way they just execute it is just really good. Yeah, man, it's just I highly recommend this game. Of course, it's been people have already said that it's going to be, you know, a game of the year contender. It definitely will be. I'm addicted to it. I can't put it down. It's all I really want to play. And just to get me to weaponize a few points, and I may have already mentioned them, but like I said, this game spits in the face of, oh, it's an RPG, you know, the onboarding, the tutorial, you know, it has to take 5 to 10 hours to introduce all of this and to get good. Bullshit. Like I said, this game spits in the face of that. No, you don't. The pacing is so good, because that's one of my biggest pet peeves in gaming is bad pacing. Either too much of any one thing is bad pacing to me, whether it be too much dialogue and too much storytelling at once and not mixing up anything in it, or too much combat, just straight combat for no reason and with no direction of where we're going with this. Is like you're just doing it just to do it. This game mixes up the different elements like very well. Like I said, so far of where I'm at, I have heard some issues about like some platforming sections that they make you do. I'm not familiar with that, so I can't speak to that right now. But everything I've encountered with this game is just really good. So yeah, that whole, oh, it takes some games or RPGs 5 to 10 hours to get good, bullshit. Get that the fuck out of here. If it takes that long, listen, I know it's cliche to say, but this game respects my time. I hate when people say that, but this game respects your time. It's about, I think it's about 30 hours main story and then 60 hours additional content. And what I mean by it respects your time is, once again, it's efficient, right? In every conversation that's had, it feels purposeful. There is a reason why they are talking, rather than some RPGs, I feel like they're talking just to talk, just to create a word quota almost, right? Wherein they may, like in some games, I feel like they talk and there's like 1,000 lines of dialogue, but in that 1,000 lines of dialogue, you could literally say what's been said in half of the word use. So it's like they just yapping at this point. This game, everything they say is purposeful. And I like that. And I'm engaged in everything everybody's saying in the conversations that are had. A lot of AAA developers should be ashamed of themselves, because there's some studios that are 300, 400, 500 people deep, and they're struggling just to create mid. They are creating mid and struggling to create that mid. And you got this studio of 30 people in 5 years creating this? Oh yeah, y'all looking crazy out here. Crazy out here. And yeah, man, it's just a really good game. I highly recommend it. I don't think you'll regret it. And this game is $50, and it's on everything: PC, PlayStation, Xbox. It's on Xbox Game Pass. Like I said, I bought it on Steam. Well worth the money. Well worth the money. I can't wait to get further in this story and see what the hell is going on, because I got some theories as to what is really happening. And trust me, this is one of those games where I think it's a must play. I think even if you're not the biggest fan of turn-based RPGs, I think it has something for you, like I said, because it plays more like an action RPG. And, you know, and the timing of the dodges and the parrying, it's not hard to master. You know, the game gives you a good amount of practice at the beginning to learn the timing and the windows of those, but you still have to learn each enemy. And the game is challenging. Dying is not like this. In most RPGs, I would say that I play of this style, you don't really die a lot. This game, I haven't died a lot. I've died like twice, but when I've died, it felt like, oh, I just didn't know the timing of some of those attacks, because these enemies deal some damage, let me tell you. So it's like, oh, I just got to learn the timing of this attack. And, you know, an enemy that just one-shotted me last time, I'm like, oh, I know the timing of it now. I'm good. So those are my thoughts. That's my impression. I'm not gonna, I didn't get too deep into like the gameplay and other things because I'm probably gonna save that for hopefully a review, maybe a spoiler cast. But yeah, I will be talking about this on Weapon Wheel Podcast. So make sure you tune in for that. And those are my thoughts. Make sure you hit the like button. Let me know what your thoughts on the game are if you've been playing, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out of here. Peace.